I'm now the Secretary of Education of the city of Recife, the capital of the state of Pernambuco in the northeast of Brazil. I come from the state government. I've been in the state of Pernambuco the Executive Planning and Management Secretary and the Executive Health Secretary, responsible for the management area of the Health Secretariat. And I was asked here to talk not only about education, but to contextualize what we are doing in education within the whole management model that has been implemented in the state and in the city of Recife. Okay? First of all, to let you know about Brazil. Do you know about Brazil?
Just a little bit.
Brazil is a country of roughly 200 million inhabitants today, 8.5 million square kilometers of area, and with a Human Development Index of 0.73. That's the country's GDP, which places it around 7th and 8th economy in the world. Illiteracy rate, how is here? Today at 8.7%, and 8.4% of the population of the country live below poverty line, which is below $2 per person a month. The state of Pernambuco is in the northeast region of Brazil. It's the 7th most populous state of the country, almost 9 million inhabitants. The Human Development Index, 0.67, GDP of $40 billion. Illiteracy rate at 16.7. If you compare to the Brazilian illiteracy rate, it's roughly double. It has 185 municipalities, one of which is the capital, Recife. And its economy has been growing above the average of the northeast of the region, of the northeastern region in Brazil for the past roughly eight years. And then we go down to Recife, the capital. 1.5 million people, that's the GDP. Illiteracy rate of 6.9, and half of the population living below poverty line. The objective here is to contextualize and show you what place we are talking about. We are talking about a poor capital of a poor state of the poorest region in Brazil. You cannot talk about Recife without spending some time to talk about what's been happening in Pernambuco. Pernambuco, in 2007, a new government took over from the old way of governing the state. We found the state with no management model and a very low investment capacity. What were the premises of the new model? Popular participation, use of modern management tools, and meritocracy. It was a demand of the governor that the people, the population, had a say in devising the public policies. So in the state of Pernambuco, and now in Recife too, there is a time when the population is heard, and what they say is taken into account in the budget of the state, in the strategy of the state. It really is. It's not just a moment for listening and giving some feedback. This information feeds into the strategy of the state, and many of them become priority projects of the state and of the city. The new government there made a point of applying modern private sector management techniques to public administration. What was done was not complicated, not theoretically, not complex, a lot of hard work, but not any complex concept was needed. It was a simple idea. It's let's bring what's best in private management and apply it to public administration. And one of the pillars of the model is meritocracy, which is a revolution in public administration. People here who work in public administration know that. It's not easy to implement meritocracy initiatives in public administration. Today in the state of Pernambuco, policemen, teachers, principals, managers, they all have a merit component in their compensation. So, the model, which is called Everyone for Pernambuco Management Model, is based on maybe the simplest and most basic concept of administration. The PDCA cycle: planning, execution, plan, do, control, and act. Planning, execution, monitoring, and corrective action. The secret is to complete the cycle. All too often, it stops here. Sometimes it stops here. It very rarely comes up to here to feed into planning again. And that's the secret. Joe Klein just talked about it. Good ideas fail to be successful because the implementation fails. So the secret lies here. The secret lies, the heart of the model is a close individual monitoring of every single priority project. It was put forward, it was devised by the young governor, who you all know died tragically last year in a plane crash. This is an article at The Economist magazine about him and the model that was implemented in Pernambuco. Eduardo Campos ran the state like a private company. He would sit. I'll show here. This is how the model, the planning, the P of the cycle works. Am I blocking your view? The inputs are the government plan, everything that was that he defended during the election, that he's promised to do. The input from the seminars. There were 12 seminars all around the state, in the 12 development regions of the state, seminars that lasted for one day. There were five, if I'm not mistaken. 5 thematic rooms: health, security, education, social development, infrastructure, and one more, economic development, 6 rooms. It was open to the whole population. We went to a city in the country, in the interior of the state, sometimes very far away places, with no infrastructure whatsoever. We arrived, we found a school, sometimes a university, sometimes another building, sometimes 2 buildings. The whole city was, we put signs in the whole city, and everyone could just come in and participate. The beggar in the street could come in and participate. We had indigenous people, we had civil society leaders, we had politicians, we had people from the streets participating. They would debate in these rooms, they would give their ideas and their complaints, and everything was systematized, everything was compiled, and later fed into the strategy of the government. I'm running because I want to get to the education part, okay? And this became the strategy map of the government. with 1, 2, 3. These blue rectangles here are the strategic objectives. There is one for education, one for public security, one for health, one for environment. So there are 12. And this is how it unfolds. Each objective, this is, let's take this one, it becomes this. Each of these rectangles is a priority project linked to this objective. For example, here is water. Water is a big problem in the Northeast. So there is a strategic objective that concerns providing water to the population and also controlling the floods. So this objective becomes this. Here I take one of them, the building of Panelas Dam. It was a dam that was built in the state. Here the Secretariat that's responsible. How it's going, it's green or red if it's, and this code is, this number is its code in the state budget. Every time one payment, any check is paid for this construction, this code is keyed in, and the planning sector of the state knows exactly how much is being spent, how much is being used for every strategic project. Each project becomes a plan with deadlines and people responsible, and this becomes the monitoring presentation. This is shown to the governor, the Panelas Dam, each part of it, and how it progresses in time. So as I said, this is the heart of the model. This is a photograph of a monitoring meeting. The governor sitting at the head of the table. This is an education meeting. You have 3 screens. Here, the presentation showing the project. Here, pictures or specific presentations that the secretary wants to show. And here on the left, it's the minutes of this meeting. Everything that is decided here comes up here. There is a team here writing the minutes. If a secretary says, I couldn't continue the building of this road because there was the Movimento do Sem Terra was camping there. So he says, okay, set a meeting tomorrow with the secretary responsible for that area to solve this. When he says that, it comes on screen here with responsible and with a deadline. And on the next meeting, it will be called upon to see if it was done. The Everyone for Pernambuco Management Model won the United Nations Public Service Award in 2012, 2013. We had 3 awards of that already, and 1 from the Inter-American Development Bank. I'm sorry if I'm speaking too quickly, tell me. Okay, I'm just trying to. Okay, some results. Education. That model applied to education moved Pernambuco from the 21st place in our in the Brazilian Basic Education Index in 2007 to 4th in the last one, 2013. That's what, 17 places in 8 years, by investing mainly in 2 things: full-time education. I'm talking about high school here, okay? High school. Investing in full-time education. Pernambuco has today more full-time schools than São Paulo, Rio, and Minas added. So that shows what an enormous effort was made to create these full-time schools. They have their role here in improving these results. But the second thing is the investment in professional management. It's the monitoring of every single school in every indicator, so that you can strategically and surgically act in those schools. I'll show you a screen later. Still in education, the school dropout rate. This is the attractiveness, school attractiveness ranking. In 2007, Pernambuco was at 26, the last. In 2013, the first. The lowest school dropout rate in high school now is in the state of Pernambuco. Insecurity. Management based on goals, compensation based on meritocracy. The same philosophy applied to education was applied to security. In fact, here first. The intentional homicide rates dropped by 32% in the state. If you see a map of the Northeast, it went up in every state except for Pernambuco. If you measure this for Recife, the capital, the drop was of more than 60%. Recife in 2007 was the most violent city in Brazil, the fourth most violent in the world. Today, it's not anymore. It's 62, I think. 62% less people die of homicide in Recife today. And this is a result of this. Oh, sorry, Portuguese was left here. I should have erased that. This is how much it used to be invested before. This is the first term of Governor Eduardo Campos. This is the second term. We moved from an average of 2 billion to 6 billion, and then to almost 13 billion investment. And investment by the state increased by almost 400%. That's five times as much. And just by using resources more wisely and having an aggressive fundraising team, professional, an aggressive team. Now Recife, my city. I had to show some pictures, especially of Carnival. This is Galo da Madrugada. The management model in the city is the same. PDCA, the strategic direction is done here for the P. The same way, the government program and the seminars. Recife Participa, in the case of Recife. Then the do, control and act happens here, in the execution part, which, as Joe Klein said before, and he's completely right, it's here that most initiatives fail. It's in execution. Planning is easy. So intensive monitoring and performance management. Here's the monitoring of the priority projects, how they are going, what problems are there. And project management office for the biggest items, like the building of new schools, building of a hospital. Those are closely followed by our project management office. And in performance management, there is a work in the internal processes of the city government, which is incredibly bureaucratic. Bureaucracy in the city is much higher than it used to be in the state, we found. And the results-based management, which are the three pacts. The pact in favor of life and security, the education pact for education, the health pact in the health sector. This is a picture of the Recife Participa, the seminars. These are people, the population participating. This is the registration when they arrive. Every single person, his names and details are kept here. And moving on to the do. The plans, the discussions about the phases of the project, the monitoring of the project here. This is done, this is really done. I'm not showing it course, this is done every week. I sit with the people from the Secretary of Planning and Management to see this graph of each of my schools that's being built. And I don't have an option as Secretary of Education. I cannot say, don't have time this week. No. There isn't this option. I have to be there. This increased the ability of execution in the city. The amount of things that's being done is more than has ever been done. City has lots of problems. It's far from perfect, but much is being done now. And this is a picture of a monitor meeting. You can see it's very similar to the one I showed before with the governor. This is the mayor of Recife. He is 43 years old. Thank you. He's 43 years old. He was a former secretary of Planning and Management. He's now a politician, but he wasn't a politician. He had never run for any political post, and he was elected solely based on the management model. The campaign was based on the capacity, the ability to execute that the population could see in Pernambuco, and that could be seen in Recife if he won. And he did win. And this is a meeting, the same 3 screens, as you see, a picture here, the presentation here, and this is not right, it should be the minutes. Oh, there's something I forgot to say that was written here in the other slide. What's very important here is that he is in every meeting. The main leader, the chief executive officer of the city and of the state, he sits in every meeting. If he can't, the meeting is cancelled. It does not happen without him. This is very important. This is the role of the leadership. It shows to every area of the government that is serious, and that's how the city is run. So this is one thing. And the other thing is the presentation is standardized. I don't prepare the education presentation when it's my turn to be sitting here. I don't prepare my presentation. The team, the management team, the monitoring team from the Secretary of Planning and Management comes to me and says, listen, your meeting is in 2 weeks. Let's update your forms, update your presentation, and then when they finish, they do it with my team. They sit with me for me to validate. But I cannot change. I cannot say, for example, this goal is unachievable. Things happened here, and we need to change this deadline. And the answer is, I know because I've been on the other side, the answer is, we can't. If you want to change, Secretary, Mr. Secretary, at the meeting, you ask him. He's the only one who can change a date or a goal. And in the meeting it is discussed, and if he decides to change, it will be changed. But many times the Secretary says, no, leave it that way.
It's much better.
The meetings are very, so standardized presentation, that's very important, very important. It doesn't happen as, I cannot arrive there with my pen drive and say, here, my presentation is here. No. The presentation has the same model to everyone. If you're red, you're red. If you're green, you're green. And what's the last thing? Presentation, the role of the leadership, and the meetings. These are work meetings. It's not just a meeting for the Secretary to show how things are going. It's a meeting where decisions are taken, where directions are changed, okay? Moving on to education, finally. First, some contextualization. That's Brazil. The 8th highest illiteracy rate in the world for adults. And you must remember that the functional illiterate are counting here as literate, so it should be even higher. The results of Brazil in the PISA examination, 2012. Out of 65 nations, Brazil was 55th in reading, 58th in mathematics, and 59th in science. And what's worse is that in all three subjects, it went down in his position in the ranking. Although the grades went up, the rest of the world went further. So relative to the 65 countries, Brazil went down in all three. 49th, 53rd, and 49th here. And in this country, with this education profile, Recife has, these are all the capitals in Brazil. Recife is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7th worst IDEB, this is the IDEB, our Basic Education Index, among the capitals for the 5th year. And for the 9th year, some of them are without result here. I would say the 4th worst. So our challenge is huge. We need to transform this reality. One thing that's important for you to bear in mind is that here I'm not talking about high school anymore. High school is a responsibility of the state. Here I'm talking about what we call in Brazil fundamental school, from 1st to 9th year. And the test happens in the 5th year, the last year of the initial years of fundamental school, and 9th year was the last year of fundamental school. So, who is our client there? In Recife, the people who can afford, study in excellent private schools. Excellent. The people who haven't got that much money study in smaller private schools, in the neighborhood, in the suburbs. The ones who can't even afford that run to the state schools. The one who can't enter the state schools go to the municipal schools, my schools. So that's my client. That's the poorest of the poor. This is the reality. Oh, Portuguese, I'm sorry. This is the reality we found. No information. There was no information whatsoever about anything, the most basic piece of information you can imagine. How many schools do we have? How many schools do we have? Some people would tell me 290, some people would say 325, some would say 300. How many teachers? Forget. How many students? But now we know. So this is happening now. It's a big effort. How can you manage without information? How can you manage without information? We implemented online enrollment since last year. Every student in the city, every student of the city schools, they can only enroll online. They cannot go to the school and enroll anymore. That gives us quick and real-time information about how many students we have in each school, in each area, and in what age span. And also, we are implementing now the diary, the online diary. In Recife, now, every teacher in every school uses an online diary. They do their attendance and the lesson registry and the students' grades all in a laptop, and it's a war. This implementation is a war against union, as Joe Klein said here. Teachers, not all of them, but people like the underperforming schools. People hide behind the problems. They hide behind the underperforming schools. They justify their underperformance with other problems, infrastructure problems. So, and the online diary will bring things out into the open. Through the online diary, I will know quickly about teacher attendance, student attendance, the covering of the content, how many students we have below average, how many above average. That will be an extremely powerful tool for us to manage the performance of the city education system. Lack of a meritocracy culture. I'll just tell you, for you to have an idea, the union I face, the banner they held it, they did it twice already. Every time they have a movement, a strike or anything, is down with meritocracy. We are against meritocracy. So this is the mindset of them. They open their mouths to say that we are against meritocracy. How can you say that? No, our merit was measured when we were hired. Oh, and that's it? No pedagogical strategy or direction. It was every school doing something different. We implemented tests in Recife before. Pupils passed, simply passed, no matter what their grades were. The philosophy was failing students is bad for them, it's not good for them. So everybody passed. We stopped that. We said no. Now, the curriculum was not the same in every school. Now the curriculum is the same, and if you don't have the right grade, you don't pass. And this will have a bad effect on our index, because part of it is the failing rate. Low learning levels, I showed you our performance in the index, and amazing infrastructure problems. We have horrible, terrible schools. If you visit, you will be shocked, some of them. So, how did we decide to attack that, to tackle that? By setting up the Education Pact of Recife. Why pact? Because it's a pact, it's a covenant between the Secretary of Education, the teachers, the students, the mayor, the other departments of the city government that have a stake here. And it is divided in four areas. Students, each of these areas, I have one top manager of my team responsible for each of these areas. Here in students, what are they responsible for? The full-time schools, the setting up of the full-time schools, the monitoring of results, tutoring for weak students. This is a very important initiative for improving our performance in the index. And technological inclusion. We invested a lot in technology, a lot. Someone asked here, someone said that made a survey in Brazil about the investment in technology, and normally people simply gave out tablets, and there was only one person responsible for technology in the Secretariat, wasn't it? You. In Recife, we gave out tablets, I'm sorry to say. But we did other things too. And we have a whole department only about technology for education. In Recife, we don't have the secretary and the vice secretary. We have the secretary and some executive secretaries. I have a education technology executive secretary. He works in a building, which is our education technology center. So we really believe technology is going to help us a lot. In the teachers area, it's the replenishment of the workforce. We had many classrooms without teachers. This has been a great effort, a great financial effort by the city government, but now we have teachers in every room. Ongoing teacher development and recognition in terms of pay rises, never what they want, but I would like to earn more too. And also, we are offering master's courses, some world-class training courses. We have a program for training our English teachers, which is run by the British Council. The British Council specialists come to the schools to observe their classes. So we are trying to make things different. In the schools area, we are talking about infrastructure, the three first, and management. Here, we are talking about the principles. And it's amazing, we were discussing here, or to some people it's amazing how we see that the problems are the same. Recife, New York, Minas, the problems are the same. And I firmly believe today that the main piece of the puzzle are the school principals. No initiative, no program we want to implement will be successful if the school principal does not buy in. He or she is the key. I visit schools every week and I see the difference between a school well-run and a badly run school. A school with a good principal and a school with a bad principal. Sometimes schools with problems, with infrastructural problems, small schools with no space, are very well run and have good results, while bigger schools are a nightmare, a hell to visit. We intervened in one school, and we're going to do it in more schools. In one school that I took down the principal and put someone else, just by reorganizing the classrooms, he gave back to the Secretary of Education 5 teachers. 5 teachers. That means there were people teaching classes with 3 pupils, 5, or not teaching, but hidden by the principal. And in the society area, we talk about the engagement of the parents and family, the participation in the school's life, and voluntary work. I have to come here to show you some pictures. I'm finishing, Tiago. We implemented in Recife one of the biggest robotics teaching programs in the world, according to Lego. I never like saying that because I always think, my God, in the world. But Lego tells me it is. We have now more than 70,000 students having robotics classes in their school. This is something many private schools in Recife don't have, and we are offering to our students. It's just begun. We implemented it last year, and we had the first results. We had a team of one of our schools who won the local the local part of the Brazilian competition, the local chapter of the Brazilian Olympics robotics. And these people went to São Paulo to represent Recife in the Brazilian Robotics Olympics. We had 2 students who went to Russia, in Sochi, be part of the Brazilian delegation to the World Robotic Olympics in months of the implementation of the project. That shows that if we give our children, if we give them the resources, they will go far. We implemented with MindLab this logical games to develop logical thinking, develop and help students in mathematics. Mathematics is a tragedy in Brazil. No one knows mathematics, even the teachers. No teachers want to teach mathematics. So this is an effort to work on how their mind works, improving their logical thinking in order to help their achievement in maths. ProLe is the Programa de Letramento do Recife. It's an effort to improve our literacy records. That's another tragedy in Brazil. We, as I said before, we have many people who are officially literate, but you know they are functionally illiterate. Here, this is a digital literacy table, we call it. Students, by playing in this table, they learn to read. We are setting them up in all our schools. All our schools who have students this age. Our goal is to make them literate until 6 years of age. And we've implemented the free pass for buses for our students. They don't have to pay for the bus fare to go to school. That's one less excuse to be absent. I'll just move on because of the time. This is just one example for the teachers' axis, I would say. The revision of our policy. This is a general policy of education in the city. It's a historical thing. Here we have the curriculum, the content that has to be covered in every quarter, in every subject, in every year. They didn't have that, and that's in our online diary. So that's how it calculates the indicator of content covered versus content that should be covered. In the schools area, we are already building 2 new reference schools, which are, this is just a model, because it's just started. They are very modern, big schools, with everything a modern school needs. Computer room, library, and it should be a full-time school. Sports gymnasium. We've already built and given to the population seven kindergarten schools. We call them creches escolas. This is a photo of one of them. If you look at them, they look like a private unit. And we have 6 others now being built which will be opened this year. Refurbishing. In the society area, this is our main initiative. O Juntos pela Educação, we do it on Saturdays in some chosen schools, and it brings the community to the school. Children's playing, the parents checking blood pressure, brigadeiro workshop, make-up workshop for the mothers, issuing of documents, carteira de identidade, CPF. The idea is to introduce the school to the community. Parents in this of these kids normally don't take part in the school, don't participate in their children's school life. And how are we going to do that? Everything, oh my God, everything here in the Education Pact, what pulls everything is a goal. And this is our very incredibly ambitious goal. By 2020, Recife should have, both in the 5th and in the 9th year, an IDEB of 7. This is the goal given to us by MEC, the Ministry of Education. 5.4, we want to get to 7, because if we only get here, it's just incremental improvement, we think. It's incredibly ambitious, I know. This is an example for you of the screen of the monitoring of the educational pact. This is one school. The photo of the principal, the period of time it covers, the grade in Portuguese and maths, how it's been progressing over the years in the IDEB. We have our own index for the years where there's no IDEB. IDEB happens every 2 years, you know. IDEB, I'll say again, the Brazilian Basic Education Index, it is measured every 2 years. We need another index to measure the in-between years, so we have our index, which is the same, calculated and run the same way as IDEB. External average, external examination, participation in these external tests, in the external exam, internal average, participation in the internal exam, percentage of students below average, students' attendance, teachers' attendance, classes that should be given versus classes actually given, content, the same thing for content, and how is the participation in the tutoring for weak students. You see that each of them is measured. There is a goal for each of them. This is the measurement of what they've done and how they are, green or red. This is just the beginning, okay? This is one first screen. I'm sure it will improve over time as we did in the state. It's not easy. You are seeing this here, and today we are not able to do it to every school we have. We are starting with the final years, and then we'll move on to the initial years. But that's the way to change. That's how we did in the state. Once you put them together, you compare them, you help them. No one wants to be the principal or the one responsible for underperforming school. You want your school to look good. And also, you begin to understand the importance of all these things once the results start coming. This is just an example of the state one. It's the same thing, the picture of the principal, the grades, external exam, internal exam, student attendance, so the same thing. They have one thing different here, is the percentage of students according to the grade. In Brazil, you know, people are examined out of 10. The grade they get is out of 10. So this school has 14.2% of the students with grade in this gap here, from 7.6 to 10. The gray bar is the state. Look at this. First, that means this school at this time was in first place. If she finishes the year like this, she'll get the bonus. There is a bonus that the best performing schools receive, every one of them, from the principal to the cleaner. It's an extra salary, sometimes more than an extra salary. We've had our first results. We managed to achieve the goal set up by the Ministry of Education for the initial year. So it's not enough for us, but it's just the beginning. For the final years, we had the third highest growth among the capitals, but we're still very low. And thank you. Sorry for the hurry.